Hey there, members of the Night Crew, and folks who just love horror. Welcome to the Night Crew podcast, the podcast where we get cozy with the creepy, the frightening, and the just plain undead. I'm your host, Brad Ricks. On today's episode, we're taking a break from our vampire series. Instead, I sat down with author Joe Scipione. We talk about his writing journey, his inspirations, and dive into some of his novels, especially his Mr. Nightmare series. I hope you enjoy our conversation as much as I enjoyed chatting with Joe. So let's hop right in. All right, so today I'm joined by Joe Scipione. He is an author based out of Chicago, correct?
Yep, just outside Chicago.
Just outside of Chicago. So it is awesome to have you on the show. You are my guinea pig. You're my first author that I'm interviewing for the Night Crew podcast. So I do appreciate you being on.
I'm happy to be here. This is going to be fun.
Oh, definitely. All right. So I have a list of some questions we're going to kind of go through, and then we can kind of also veer off from there because my ADD only lets me stay on track for so long.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, starting off, I guess tell everybody a little bit about your writing career. You know, how long you've been doing it. What was your first book? What made you want to become a writer? That kind of stuff.
Oh, that's like a long story. I've been trying to do more TikToks lately. So I got rambling on TikTok and it's saved in my draft. So I haven't posted it yet. But basically, I always like to read books and I was a big reader growing up. I read John Belair's in the 80s, and then I graduated to Stephen King after that. And then I kind of got away from horror for a little while and I read, a lot of Tom Clancy. And then I got back into Stephen King as I got a little bit older. And so I always was a reader. And then I just remember sitting at the bookstore. My mom took me to the bookstore and I was looking through the horror section. I was like, I wish there was a book. I don't remember what it was, but I had like this specific book that I was looking for. And like, I just couldn't find any books that had that thing I was looking for that I really wanted to read. And I was like, well, maybe I could write books like that. And then that was kind of the first thought I had of maybe being a writer. And then I went high school, college, you're doing so much work that I never really got around to writing stuff. And then once college ended, I was a teacher and my wife worked, a regular 9-to-5 job. So I was home for 2 hours every day before she got home. And that's when I kind of started really digging in and writing. So I would write for an hour or two every day after work. And that was 2003. I started my first novel in 2003 and I just wrote and I submitted, and then I'd write something else and submit. So I've been doing it like a long time, but like I didn't get traction. I had sold a short story in 2009. And then from 2009 to 2019, I sold a handful of short stories and I kept writing and kept submitting novels and they would get rejected. And then the end of 2019, that's when my first book, Perhaps She Will Die, was accepted. And then it kind of goes from there.
Awesome. So almost 20 years then from a writing standpoint, or a little over 20 years. Yeah,
it's definitely like you see it a lot, but it really is true. It's like definitely a marathon. It's not a sprint. Like if I hadn't written all those books, I've got so many books saved on my computer that some of them will never see the light of day. Some of them, if with a lot of work, maybe they could, but then do I really want to go back and revisit that, or would I rather create something new? And I usually just want to create something new. But if I didn't write all those books, the stuff that I'm writing now wouldn't be as good. Like, I think you need that time to be able to develop your voice as a writer.
I don't think it matters the career. There's always that path that you have to go through where you have to learn what not to do before you know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it was, I remember going through that both from the writing standpoint. I also have a novel or two that's kind of stuck in a drawer that will never ever see the light of day. I call, that's the learner books.
Right.
It was how I was fine tuning my voice of things. And I do music, I play guitar and sing, and same kind of thing. You learn the mistakes, you learn what not to do, and that's what makes it to where the stuff that you're doing now is, it is more, more appealing to your readers and to the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Like Mr. Nightmare is my most popular book. And if I hadn't written those other books, it wouldn't have existed. Or if I did, I wouldn't have been able to write it, the way that I did, because I didn't have that experience from doing it.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. So, so you said your first book was, what was the name? The first one that got picked up? That was
Perhaps She Will Die.
Now, I haven't read that one. So what's that one about?
That one it's actually out of print right now. So it came out in 2020. It's got, I don't like the cover, and I never liked the cover. I did at first, but I didn't really know much about indie publishing, and I didn't know like cover artists like I do now. So as I got more involved in the community, I started to see these other covers, and I was like, this cover doesn't compete. And that's why nobody's buying it. Nobody's reading it, because it just doesn't, the cover doesn't compete. So now it's out of print. I got the rights back, and it's going to be the first book that I put out on my own, with a new cover, new edit. It's coming back soon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Maybe the end of this year, early next year.
Awesome. Now, and then Mr. Nightmare came out. When did that one come out?
That was 2022.
2022. Yeah. Now, was that the first one that Wicked House, that was your first Wicked House book? Was that the first book that Wicked House did, or I know it was one of the early ones? Yeah.
So that was the very first Wicked House book. And that was my COVID book. So I had the kids at home, school from home, and my daughter has some special needs. So she couldn't just do school on her own. I had to sit with her at the kitchen table for the entire school day and do all her classes with her. So she would do her classes. And then the way that they broke it out was they had 20 minutes a break in between each class. So she would do whatever math, and then she'd have a 20-minute break, and then she'd do social studies and then have a 20-minute break. So that was throughout the whole day. So during those 20-minute breaks, she would hop on her iPad or her phone, and she would just do her own thing for 20 minutes. And I would stay on the computer and I would type for 20 minutes. And that was how Mr. Nightmare was written. It was October, November, and December. It was definitely the fastest book I've ever written. It just came out 20 minutes at a time, 5 or 6 times a day for those months.
Well, and I'll say I myself, I'm not a very fast reader. And that one, I think I powered through in like 2 days. Like I found myself not being able to put that one down. So I definitely enjoyed it. And the second one, and you were gracious enough to let me have read an advanced version of a copy of the third one. And so I'll just tell everybody, when it comes out, get it. It's good. So especially if you like kind of the dark fantasy kind of stuff, it's some good stuff.
It's a much different book than the first two.
Yeah, at least like the first half of it is. The second half kind of definitely shifts back into some of it, of the first two. But it was definitely it was a very enjoyable read.
Awesome, thank you.
So and that one is slated to come out when? When's that one slated for?
So we had it's still up in the air. It's soon, maybe this summer, maybe September, October.
Okay.
The publisher had some issues with a new distributor, so he wanted to make sure everything was set up before he started putting the books out. So I think it's all set now, and now he's just working on the backlog. So it's coming soon.
Gotcha.
I should have pre-order stuff available for Books and Brews. So
nice.
I have pre-order information by then.
Awesome. All All right. So how do you find time to write?
Well, I'm lucky. My kids go to school and I'm full time. So once they go to school, I walk the dog, I do stuff around the house, and then I've got 3 hours where I write, and then I write again at night. So I've got chunks of time during the day. I usually work on new stuff during the day, and then I'll edit at night other stuff. It just depends on what I'm working on.
Are you more of a pantser or plotter?
Definitely more pants, but I'd say it's more like scaffolding. So I kind of have 5 or 6 plot points per book, and I kind of have the beginning when I start writing, and then I have kind of 5 or 6 major events, and I just write from one plot point to the next plot point. So I don't know every chapter what's going to happen, but I know, okay, this person's going to die about halfway through the book, and then I'm just writing toward that point.
So you got your little tent poles, and then you kind of go for those.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Where do you find your inspiration?
Everywhere. I mean, I wrote Perhaps She Will Die because my wife was afraid of fly. There was like 5 or 6 flies in the house, and there's like billions of flies in Perhaps She Will Die. So there was like 20 of them, and she was like, where are these flies coming from? They're just everywhere. And that kind of got my mind rolling. And it popped up, kind of the idea of like a fly monster came up in my head, and then I just wrote with it. For Mr. Nightmare, I was working out, and I was listening to a song, and the thought came in my head of like, what if there was a monster that ate nightmares, and how would that look in a book? And I just, like, I stopped working out, and I changed the music to something that didn't have lyrics, and I just kind of sat there and I wrote down ideas, or I typed out ideas on my phone for like 45 minutes, and I had like the characters and the plot. Anything that like is out of the ordinary, I try to use that and think of ideas from that.
So kind of shifting gears from Mr. Nightmare, because another one of yours that I've read is Never Dead. So where did Never Dead spring from?
I read an anthology of stories inspired by Frankenstein. And so that kind of got me thinking of like this reanimation idea. And then I taught history when I was in high school. I mean, I taught history in high school. So that's kind of my other big thing is history. I read a lot of history books, and I was like, well, where could, a Frankenstein story be set that would be different than just setting it in the late 1800s. And so I settled on the 1920s because it's like kind of a different time period. And then also with that one, I had the idea of like, what if you had this black and white, like old school science fiction book that was also kind of like the Wizard of Oz, where you have this black and white section, and then you have this color section. And so that got me into like the time jump. So for people who haven't read it, about 3/4 of the way through the book, there's a big time jump, and you meet another new character towards the end of the book, and that's kind of the color section, because it's all modern stuff versus the rest of the book, which just takes place in the 1920s.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I can definitely it's been a little bit since I've read it, but I can definitely kind of tell when there was that time shift in there, kind of how I guess I almost picture it in my head now. I'm thinking back to it, that the beginning of it was more kind of almost like film noir, kind of black and white, kind of styling compared to the latter part of the book.
Yeah, the whole time, like I wrote the first scene, which is like a grave robbing scene. Mm-hmm. I wrote that first scene, and I didn't really know what to do with it. And then I thought about that scene more and more, and I kind of came up with the story. And as soon as I started writing the rest of the book after that first scene, I knew that the time jump was there. And I always thought about it as black and white versus color.
Gotcha. That's awesome. All right. What do you find is the most difficult part of writing a book?
It's the middle of the book, like
the messy middle.
Yeah, it happens to me every single time. Like I said, I have a lot of books that are never going to be seen, and I've got 11 published books right now. And every time between 25,000 words and 40,000 words, there's a spot in the book where I'm like, this book sucks. No one is going to want to read this. Why am I even doing this? I should just go put on a movie. And it happens every time. And you know, there are books where when I first started, where I would stop for 2 or 3 or 4 days. And now I know that it's coming, and I get to that point and I just keep typing and typing and typing. And eventually you get past that point, and then 10,000 words later, you're like, this is the best thing I've ever written. So it happens every time. I plan for it now. I'm writing a book now. It's called Thicker Than Water, I think is the title that I came up with. I don't know, because my titles change all the time. And I'm at 35,000 words right now. And the last like 5 or 6 days, I haven't wanted to work on it. I'm in that spot right now. And I just kind of got out of it because I got this cool scene coming up next, and I know it's coming. So I wrote out of it. I think today I wrote out of it earlier today, but it happens to me every time. That's always the toughest part for me. It's just forcing myself to write through that.
Yep. It's called the messy middle for a reason. Yeah. It is a difficult spot. It's because you always have your beginnings, and, you know, just as a writer, you have your beginnings. It's, you know, everybody talks about the beginning so much, and then usually in your head, you know where it ends, but it's kind of making the two match up, and it's all that stuff in the middle that, you know, it's all the explaining, it's all the puzzle pieces or whatever is happening in the middle. That's just, you know, you do have to kind of trudge through it sometimes,
sure.
and keeping it interesting enough that your readers don't give up along the way. And so it's that kind of mix of there's certain things that have to happen, but at the same time, you don't want it to be just like a laundry list of stuff that's happening. You have to, you know, still lead your readers along the path.
Yeah. And this book for me, especially, it has like a heavy romance side to it, like a subplot. And I don't usually write that kind of stuff. Like, I can do it, but it's not my usual stuff. So in those points where it's more about relationships and the characters, versus the spooky stuff, that is kind of what's slowing me down in this specific book. So off of that then, so why horror? For me, because that's what got me into reading. Like, I'm sure there's thousands of horror authors who would say the exact same thing I'm going to say, but I read Stephen King. I stole Stephen King's It from the library. I had wanted to take it out. My mom said no. So I put it in my backpack, and I took it and I read it. And like, I was in 4th or 5th grade. And like, there are things in there that I should not have been reading. A lot of it didn't stick with me. A lot of it kind of went over my head, but like, I really wanted to read that book. And so for me, it was Stephen King, his books. And I just, like, I never really looked back. I got away from it for a while, came back to it, but it was always like, those were the books that I loved to read. I remember sitting in my bed, you know, as a kid, after my parents went to bed, turn the light back on and read. And like, my palms were sweating. Like, I was stressed out. I loved that feeling of just being up till 1 a.m., reading a book, getting stressed about it, and then putting it down, and you can't wait to pick it up the next time. So those books brought that feeling out in me. And that's what I try to do when I write my books.
Awesome.
And I did return it after I finished it. I did bring it back to the library. So we just didn't check it out officially.
That's good. There's not like there's not some librarian out there that's like, he's the one who stole it. Suddenly an invoice shows up in your email for couple $1,000 of library books that need to be returned. Yeah. Library fines. All right. So, so I'm going to ask this question, and I know it's going to be a difficult one because it's like picking your children. But of all the books you've written, what would you say is your favorite?
Oh, that is hard. I have lots of favorites, but for like different reasons. I think my personal favorite is The Gods Among Them, which is my most recent novel, came out last year, which is actually the one that has sold the least of the novels. So that makes me sad. But I think, like, as far as like the story and the way that I had envisioned it when I first came up with the idea, like it is exactly the story that I wanted to write when I started writing it. It came out. Usually, like, things change, and it doesn't always go the way that you think it's going to go when you start. But that one did. Like, every scene that I wanted in there was in there. I don't think it drags at all. Like, it's a really, I think it's probably my favorite book. And so if it doesn't sell as well, that's okay, because I know that it came out the way I wanted to.
Yep. Nope. I definitely understand the feeling. And I will say, so I haven't had a chance to read that one yet. It is in my TBR. So it is one that's like in my stack of stuff. I just haven't got around to it yet. So I'm sorry. But it is in my list. I think it's actually on my Kindle right now. So,
thanks for getting it.
So, we kind of touched on this, but so what would you say is kind of some of your biggest literary influences?
Well,
I know you said Stephen King.
For sure. Yeah. And John Bellairs, I don't know if you read him. He writes like, I don't know, like middle grade horror, I guess they would call it now, but they didn't back in the 80s. So they were short, quick books. Most of them were like, I'm trying to remember the character's name. Johnny Dixon is one of the main ones. He was like a elementary aged kid, and then he lived across the street from this old guy, and they like solved mysteries together, and they were like dark, and they were ghosts and stuff. And then Adam Neville is a big one for me. I love his books. China Mieville is another one. For those two guys, it's just like, the imagination and the ideas that they come up with. And Adam Neville, the way he writes, like, every word is important. You can tell the amount of time that he put in, not just to writing it, but editing it. And then Shirley Jackson, Edgar Allan Poe, kind of those classic horror authors also.
Yeah, mine are usually it's Poe and King. Those are kind of the two that outside of horror, what would you say is a big influence?
Tom Clancy.
Clancy?
I love his books. His books are massive, and I reread most of them, or I've listened to them, and I would like just sit down. My parents have a place near the beach, and we would go there over the summer, and I would just sit and read his books, like this massive, huge Tom Clancy book, and I'd just sit on the beach and read for like 3 or 4 hours. So definitely Tom Clancy.
What's your favorite of his?
I like Rainbow Six.
Haven't done that one. Haven't read that one.
It's good. There's like a lot of like storylines. All of his books are like that, but Rainbow Six has a lot of different kind of moving parts.
Is that one of the Jack Ryan ones or no?
He's like in it, but not really in it.
Okay.
And then also Ken Follett. I like his kind of historical books.
Gotcha. All right. If you could pick someone to do a collaboration with, who would it be?
What would be really cool? A Night Crew book with Brad Ricks.
You're just saying that because you're on a podcast with me.
No, I think it would be cool. I do. I think I told you this. I love Underworld. Like the Underworld movies, I think are awesome. Mm-hmm. And that the Night Crew reminds me a lot of Underworld.
Well, kind of like what you were talking about with how you went to the library or to look for a particular kind of book and not find it. That was part of where like the Night Crew came from, was because I wanted to read. I like vampire stuff, and so I wanted to read some vampire stuff, but everything that was vampire was like in the romance section, and I was like, this is wrong. Right. So that was part of my reasoning for wanting to write Night Crew. I was like, I want some old school, like Lost Boys kind of vampire stuff. I don't want it to be where, the lady is trying to, she can save him. It's like, that's not the kind of vampire stuff I want.
Yeah, no, deadly vampires.
Yes. All right. So outside of writing, what are some of your hobbies?
You mean when I'm not collecting books that I don't read because I have too many? No, I do a lot of stuff with my kids. You mentioned you play music. I play harmonica. I've done that for, I guess, 18 years now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I play video games here and there. I watch a ton of movies. Not horror movies. I watch horror movies here and there, but for the most part, I'm not really a horror movie guy. Like I haven't seen all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And I tell people this and they say, you're a horror author? You haven't seen them all? No, I haven't.
Yeah, but some of those, as long as you've seen the first one, then you're fine.
I haven't even seen the first one.
You hadn't even seen the first one? Oh, okay. Nope. Well, never mind then. I was trying to save you, but never mind. Just off the cliff you go. Because for me, okay, so Nightmare on Elm Street, I've seen, I think, most of those. The Michael Myers one, all the Halloween, I've seen, most of those. But Friday the 13th, I think I've seen like the first two, and then I think I saw whichever one when he's in New York, and just because it was so cheesy, you just have to. But other than that, like there's so many, and the storylines get so kind of rinse and repeat, and just like to me, it's like even as a horror author, I'm like, okay, as long as I've seen like the first one or two of a series, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I was like, after that, you can only stretch the imagination for so far.
Lately, I have been trying to kind of increase my knowledge of horror movies. So I've been watching more the last 5 or 6 years or so, but it's still like, if there's someone says there's a good horror movie and there's a good action movie, I'm always picking the action movie.
The action movie. Yeah.
Or like, a mob movie. I will watch that every time.
You see a mob movie?
Yeah.
Oh, so you and my wife will get along then. She's all about, she's been watching Mobland and
I've seen that. I want to see that. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. So she watches that stuff religiously. And so she's very much into all the mob stuff. I'm not as much. I tend to lean, like I do a little bit of true crime kind of stuff, but mainly it's, if I'm just watching TV, usually it's the mind numbing, I love me some South Park, and, just something that's just, I can just turn off the brain for a little bit.
Yeah. The Office. I can put that on in the background.
Love The Office.
Yeah. You can just watch them over and over again. Those are good to do. I don't actually watch I don't watch TV shows. Like, I have seen maybe an episode or two of Game of Thrones. I've seen a couple episodes of Breaking Bad. Like it's movies or it's quick sitcoms like The Office or South Park or Family Guy, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So I started the Night Crew podcast as a spinoff to my own series, The Night Crew, of course, which is, of course, about a team of monster hunters. All of my scripted episodes are deep dives into some kind of creature. So, for instance, right now I'm doing the series is wrapped around vampires. So with that being said, one of the caveats on the podcast is that you've got to talk about your favorite monster. So what you got for me?
I'm going to give you Aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah. So like the
why
Alien movies, Predator, like those are my kind of movies. I love science fiction. I would watch a science fiction movie before I watched a horror movie also. So all of those Species, what's some of the other ones? Like more recently, Quiet Place, Color Out of Space, the Nick Cage movie. I'm a big Star Trek fan, and there's a couple, horror-ish Star Trek episodes. Aliens are my thing. So those are the ones.
Those are the ones, huh?
Yeah.
So why aliens? What's it about aliens?
I don't know. Just like I always was fascinated by the idea. Like I just was on, I think it was on TikTok. It might've been on Facebook. NASA dropped like a video of Mars at night, and it's like looking out into this, into space. And there's obviously no light pollution on Mars. Like you're just looking into space, and you can see like all the stars and the planets, and it's just like the sky is full of it. And I just was always fascinated by the fact that like, how could we possibly be the only living thing in the entire universe? I don't think it is possible. So there's got to be something else out there somewhere. And, what are they like? Are they like us? Are they different than us? It's just always been something I've been curious about.
So for Joe Scipione, we are not alone.
Definitely not.
Is it more do you think it's more the alien style? They're the aliens that are out there are just vicious killing machines, or is the more Men in Black kind of mix of
like intelligent? Mm-hmm. It's interesting you say that, because I have a book coming out next year. It's called Until Sunrise, and it's an alien invasion book, and the aliens in that book are like alien, like they're just bloodthirsty monsters coming to kill us. And then in 2027, I've got my first science fiction book coming out. It's called Project Vega, and that is the exact opposite. It's an intelligent alien life form that comes in contact with humans.
Gotcha. So definitely, you definitely got some stuff in the pipeline. That's for sure.
I got, I have all that time to write, so I always got stuff coming.
Awesome. So with that, from an alien perspective let's go with the Alien franchise. What's your favorite movie of the Alien franchise?
That's a hard one. So the first one is very much horror, and I really like the first one. I remember the first time watching that one, kind of the same thing as when I was reading those books late at night. Like I'm just stressed out the entire time.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah. It's so stressful. And then the second one, I told you I like action movies. The second one is very much action versus horror. And I really like that one too. So between 1 and 2, probably hard to pick.
Yep. I would definitely agree. Now I've watched all the way up to the Prometheus and those.
Yeah.
Those to me get a little but yeah, definitely Alien and Aliens are probably two of my favorites. And I haven't seen the latest one that came out. What was I can't remember the title of it right now. But yeah, I haven't seen that one, although I heard that one is really good. And it kind of harkens back to
that one was good. I don't remember what it was, but that was a good mix of horror and action.
Romulus?
Yes.
Yeah. I've heard that one was good. I haven't seen it yet, but I did hear that one was good.
Very good.
Awesome. So I'll have to mark that down on my list that, Joe equals alien. And so, hopefully as I get more and more authors that I'm chatting with and, get them to talk about their creatures, I can kind of start making a little tally mark and see, what everybody has, what everybody's favorites are out there. So, all right. So, where can, probably at this point, like, both of my listeners, learn more about you? Where can they find your books? All that kind of good stuff.
Everything's on Amazon. I also sell all my books. I will ship them to you signed on my website. It's just joescipione.com. I have a shop there. I have a novel bundle if you want to save some money. I have 6 novellas out. So those are bundled up too, so you can save some money that way. And then I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I'm on all the social medias, Instagram, Blue Sky, X, any of those places you can find me.
Awesome. And I'll make sure and get all those links, and I'll put them in the description and all that kind of good stuff. So makes it easy for people to find you. But, with that, I appreciate you hanging out with me and, talk a little bit. And again, being my guinea pig is the first little interview I'm doing on the brand new Night Crew podcast.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to it. One of the first episodes going live.
First episode goes live in a couple days on July 1st. And my goal right now is to do one the 1st and the 15th. If I get a good number of author interviews, then I may end up moving that to being more weekly, just so that way I can squeeze in both from a scripted standpoint on things. Like I say, right now we're kind of doing a deep dive on vampires. Yeah. And so kind of intermingle author interviews in between the series stuff that way it's not every episode is just everybody get to listen to me talk for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah. So it kind of breaks up the monotony a little bit. The first couple episodes I've already have recorded. And I'm just starting to record, to kind of script out or write out the 4th episode. My wife and I and the kiddos just got back from a trip to New Orleans, and there's a lot of vampire stuff in New Orleans. Yeah. And so doing a episode that I'm starting to write out now, specifically talking about the vampire legends in New Orleans. So this one will probably come out right about the time that Books and Brews. I may put this one as the August 1st episode. So this probably will hit right around we'll be in Books and Brews at that time, which, so I know you're going to be at Books and Brews. Do you have anything else besides there that you're going to be attending?
No, I think that's it for right now. There might be other stuff coming up in September, October, but nothing finalized yet. I do have a New Orleans story though. I got punched in the face in New Orleans. Yeah. On, what's the street?
Bourbon?
Yeah. On Bourbon Street. I was like just standing on Bourbon Street. I was there for my brother's bachelor party, and it wasn't like a wild bachelor party. We were well past wild bachelor party age. We were just standing on the sidewalk, and this guy thought that I was the guy that threw a cup at him, but I wasn't, because I was standing there holding my cup, and he punched me in the face, and there was a cop right there. So he saw the whole thing.
Nice. That's always fun.
I survived, and now I have a story that I can tell when people mention New Orleans.
So it was kind of fun when funny because all my kids are teenagers, and so my youngest is 15, and I have 4 of them from 15 to 18. So I have as you're listening to this podcast, buy my books too, because I got mouths to feed. My wife and I we take the kids, and we get there. It was like Thursday, and we get checked at the hotel, and like, oh good, well, it's like 5, 6 o'clock. We're like, well, let's go find something to eat. So we go walking down the street, and I kind of cut over, and it's down Bourbon Street that we're walking. And so my kids are just like eyeballs is really huge. And they're like, is that smell what I think it is? I'm like, yes, it is. So it was a little bit of a shock to them to see some of the stuff that they were seeing out on the streets of Bourbon. But that wasn't, oddly enough, that wasn't even the strangest thing that happened to us. The strangest thing, it was the day before we left. We were at a po' boy shop that was in the French Quarter, and this guy comes walking in. His face looked like he also got into a little scuffle the night before. But he came in with his camera and was just like, it was a small little place. And like there was just to walk, there was like a little set of booths in the middle, and then you just kind of just like a U, to go in to go right back out. My wife and I were sitting in one booth, kids were sitting across from us. The guy has his camera out or his phone out, and he's like walking around like he's taking pictures or video, and he's like you are all going to hell for crimes against humanity, and then like walked out, and we're like, that just happened, didn't it?
Welcome to New Orleans.
So that was fun, and definitely the kids got a chance to see a little bit of wild and crazy. All right. So with that, like I said, I'll good. We get to end on some funny little New Orleans stories, but again, like I said, I appreciate you being a guinea pig and hanging out and chatting with me for a little while. I look forward to finally getting to see you and shake your hand, and maybe we can grab a cigar or something while we're in Books and Brews.
For sure.
And but other than that, again, it was a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's it for the Night Crew podcast and my conversation with Joe Scipione. I have links to where you can find Joe in the show notes. Follow him on all the socials and definitely pick up his books. I hope you enjoyed this interview. I have others lined up and will mingle them in with the more creature-centric episodes. So if you had a good time, make sure to follow the show, share it with a friend, and leave a rating, hopefully 5 stars. If you want updates on my writing, you can follow me on Facebook or TikTok at Bradrick's Author. You can find copies of my novels wherever you like to buy books, but if you hop over to my website, bradricks.com, you can purchase signed copies of any of my novels. While there, also sign up for my newsletter. Remember, The Night Crew Book 1 is currently available, and Book 2 comes out in November. I'm Brad Ricks, reminding you to stay out of graveyards after dark, question people who don't show up in mirrors, and try not to feed Mr. Nightmare when you go to sleep tonight. Until next time, keep your curtains drawn, your sense of humor sharp, and your blood inside your body. Thanks for listening.